Rolling.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, my name is Jess. They call me Little Jess. I'm an addict. My clean date is August 26, 2005. And I'm always really nervous when I do this kind of thing, so bear with me. Tell you a little bit about what it was like. I am the product of an upper middle class white suburban home, and my childhood wasn't too terribly bad. My father was mildly physically abusive, and my mother was an alcoholic, but she kept it under wraps until I was about 14 or 15. But I always had a roof over my head, and I always had clothes on my back, and I spoiled when it came to toys and video games and pretty much anything I wanted. I was very used to getting what I wanted. And, despite all that, my entire life I've always had this feeling of just being different, like I didn't belong. I was very socially anxious. For as far back as I can remember, one of my earliest memories is I was about 4, I guess, and we were at McDonald's, and I knew exactly what I wanted, and my mom was trying to get me to talk to the cashier and tell her what I wanted. And I looked up, and I opened my mouth, and I just broke down and cried. And that's how I felt inside every time I had to interact with someone. I isolated a lot as a kid. I would throw myself into anything that would, just keep me out of my thoughts, keep me out of feeling like I wasn't enough. So I read a lot, I played a lot of video games, I went out in the woods and caught bugs all day long. And in school, I was known as that nerdy little quiet girl that never spoke to anyone. I excelled in school, especially in math. And that was like my one pride, was my intellect. But other than that, I don't know, I always felt like I didn't belong. Like I wasn't good enough, I wasn't pretty enough, I wasn't strong enough or quick enough. And I felt that way for years. A couple defining moments in my life. When I was 12, I woke up on Christmas morning and went downstairs, and I was really excited because my mom was awake and it was 6 a.m. And I was like, word, we get to open presents, Ma. And I was like, where's Dad? Can we wake him up? And she was like, your dad's not here right now. And I was like, well, where is he? And she was like, they called him into work. And I'm like, well, it's Christmas. It's his birthday. They can't do that. My dad was in jail on Christmas morning. He had gotten drunk the night before. There was a pending divorce that I had no idea about because my family was picture perfect, And so that year I learned a lot of new vocabulary words like restraining order, divorce court. And I was 12 years old, and that's when, I don't know, like the feelings of worthlessness kind of came to a head. And I became very depressed. I literally spent much of that year in my closet, like crying. Nobody would tell me what was going on. And I threw myself into all the activities that I knew how to do to isolate. More reading, I started to slip in school, though. And for the next couple years, it only got worse. And I thought about killing myself on a daily basis. When I was 14, I realized that I was gay. And that doesn't fly with the religion that I was brought up in. My religion, or my father's religion, doesn't allow for much wiggle room when it comes to sexual orientation. So that didn't help my feeling of worthlessness at all. And things just continued to get worse. I didn't have my first drug until I was 16, which is a late start by today's standards. And it was the drug of alcohol. And that very first night, I went all out. I got blasted. And I had one of my very first sexual experiences against my will in front of an audience of strangers. And I don't remember much of that night, just bits and pieces and what I had to piece together from what people told me the next morning. I do remember they had to carry me back home, which was next door. And I do remember what it felt like the next day. There were two distinct types of feelings. There was the shame, the regret, the remorse, the, oh my God, I can't believe that happened, that sick to my feeling kind of stomach. Sick to my stomach kind of feeling. Sorry, a little dyslexic. And then there was this realization that for 6 hours the previous night, I didn't feel. I was numb, and it was wonderful.